Welcome everyone, I'm Dale and this is Cinema Historia. This week we have a request, so let's get started. A lawyer with no clients, gangsters running wild, and an agent recruiting opportunity. This week we're going back to 1935 for a crime film called G-Men, starring James Cagney, Ann Dvorak, Margaret Lindsay, and Robert Armstrong, and this is directed by William Kiley. So, where does our story begin this week? Well, our story begins in an attorney-at-law office in New York City. Lawyer James Davis, nicknamed Brick, played by James Cagney, 1 year after graduating, has no clients because he refuses to compromise with his ideals and integrity to get hoodlums off scot-free. His college friend, now G-Man Eddie Buchanan, stops by for a visit, sees Brick isn't busy, and tries to recruit him as a federal agent or G-Man, short form for government man, but Davis is unsure. Soon after, Buchanan is killed while trying to arrest a gangster, which changes Davis's mind, now determined to bring the killer to justice. Next, Brick bids farewell to his mentor, Mac McKay, a mob boss who financed $20,000 for his education to keep Brick on the right side of the law. He also bids farewell to Jean Morgan, played by Ann Dvorak, the star singer of McKay's nightclub, a girl who has strong feelings for Davis. After his government application is accepted, Davis travels to Washington, D.C. to begin his training. Upon arrival, a mutual dislike forms between him and his instructor, Jeff McCord, played by Robert Armstrong, as McCord openly mocks and derides Davis's attempts at training. However, Davis is attracted to McCord's sister Kay, played by Margaret Lindsay, which strengthens his determination to complete his training despite McCord's efforts to rile him. Meanwhile, Davis's former mentor McKay retires from the mob and buys a resort lodge in the woods of Wisconsin. His men, now freed from his restraint, embark on a crime spree. However, with new laws empowering federal agents to carry guns, the G-Men are now enacted with great speed. The manhunt is on, so the gang members, feeling the heat, decide to hide out at McKay's resort lodge to lay low for a while. With Davis learning that Jean Morgan is now married to one of the gang members named Collins, Jean is brought in for questioning. So, does Jean still have strong feelings for Davis but can't help? Does she accidentally let it slip out that the gang is hiding out at McKay's lodge? Or does a kidnapping to use as a hostage change the direction of our story? Released on April 18, 1935, this was one of the top grossing films of that year. In 2008, the American Film Institute nominated this film for its top 10 gangster films list. Backing that up, our film critic, Rotten Tomatoes audience reviews, stating, Cagney is in one of his best roles, definitely a must-see. One of James Cagney's finest hours on the silver screen, and the best gangster movie ever made. That's a big statement. One of my favorites. I'm glad it is a request. And the trivia question this week, did someone important approve the script for this film? Did someone important approve the script for this film? So a little more history and the answer to our trivia question coming up next. Now, since the story of our film is based around G-Men, that's the subject of this week's history. So, World War I was over, but a new one was just beginning on the streets of America. Prohibition prohibited the sale of alcohol beverages, left the nation dry in 1920, and in one big city alone, Chicago, an estimated 1,300 gangs had spread like a deadly virus by the mid-1920s. With gangs outfitted with Tommy guns and wallets bursting from bootlegging profits, by 1926 more than 12,000 murders were taking place every year across America. The Roaring Twenties also saw bank robbery, kidnapping, auto theft, gambling, and drug trafficking become increasingly common crimes. In the early 20s, local police forces and the young Bureau of Investigation were hobbled by the lack of modern tools and training. A good house cleaning was in order, and it came at the hands of a young lawyer named J. Edgar Hoover. Hoover joined the Department of Justice in 1917, and in 1921 was named Assistant Director of the Bureau. Wanting to make the Bureau a model of professionalism, he began laying down a strict code of conduct for agents. In the summer of 1924, Hoover created an identification division, gathering fingerprints from police agencies. In January of 1928, he launched the first formal training for incoming agents, a 2-month course of instruction and exercises. New agents had to be between 25 and 35 years old with experience in law and accounting. In 1932, the Bureau began exchanging fingerprints with Canada, and November 24th of that same year saw the official birth of the FBI laboratory. A scientific crime lab and the Bureau's first technical lab also came in 1932. By 1936, the agency had a total reservoir of 100,000 fingerprint cards, and by 1946, that number had swelled to 100 million. Gangs led by powerful Al Scarface Capone, George Bugs Moran, John Dillinger, Clyde Borrow and his girlfriend Bonnie Parker, Pretty Boy Floyd, and Machine Gun Kelly, who once ruled the streets, by the end of 1934 had been killed or captured. G-men had become household names and icons of popular culture, and with Congress giving them newfound powers, including carrying guns, in July of 1935, the organization was renamed the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or F.B.I. Pretty cool. And the answer to our trivia question this week, did someone important approve the script for this film? Yes, and I already mentioned his name, and it was J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover, director of the FBI, personally approved the script for this movie. He even assigned FBI agents to monitor its production to ensure that it was accurate in every detail. When it grossed over $100 million, which was a hefty sum for a film in 1935, he was extremely pleased. Hoover was intensely interested in G-men winning publicity and popularity with the public. He realized that the film could be used to promote the image of the FBI, and I think it probably did. I'd like to give out a big thank you for the request of this film this week, and if anybody else would like a film or history done, please don't hesitate, leave it in the comments. On that note, thanks for watching everyone. Hope to see you back next week.